You're about to learn something amazing here. In this video alone, you're going to learn how to use Selenium with JavaScript. We're going to take a look how we can install Selenium on our JavaScript projects and how we can set up our browser to behave the way we want to behave. So this is a free preview of my Selenium WebDriver course with JavaScript. So if you want to learn more about this, go ahead and click on the link in the description below where you can find the full course. So let's go ahead and start with our lessons. Hello and welcome to this course. In this lecture, we're going to set up our environment in order to dive right into automation with Selenium and Node.js. So there are a few things that you need to install in order to start typing some code basically and practicing our Selenium automation. So the first thing you need to install is, if you don't have it of course, is Node.js. So go to nodejs.org and install the latest LTS version that is recommended for most users. You need to install it and just follow the steps, click next, and you should be all set up. The next tool that we are going to use is Visual Studio Code. If you don't have it, go to codevisualstudio.com and download the installer and follow the steps. You can alternatively search that in Google, but make sure you install Visual Studio Code. So those are the tools that we need in order to start programming. The last tool that we need is our Selenium WebDriver. In order to download it, we need to find it in npm. So let's go to npm.js.com, and this is basically a package manager for open source JavaScript projects. And one of those open source JavaScript projects is Selenium WebDriver. So let's search for that. Selenium-WebDriver. Okay, I messed it up. Driver. And the top result is this. So here we have the different WebDrivers that we can use. Make sure whatever WebDriver you choose, you have the corresponding browser installed on your system. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So my preferred WebDriver that I'm using is GeckoDriver, and I recommend you use that as well. It's not that if you use Chrome driver it's going to be different, but in some cases the settings will be a little bit different. So I recommend you install the GeckoDriver as you follow along. So let's click on GeckoDriver here. And this will take us to the GitHub page where we can find the latest GeckoDriver, and according to our operating system, let's click and download the zip file. So I'm going to click on Windows 64 here, and I'm going to download it. Now that we have downloaded our GeckoDriver zip file, we're ready to unzip it in some destination of your choice. I'm going to go on my C drive and I'm going to create a folder called Selenium WebDrivers. So let's go ahead and do that. Selenium WebDrivers. You want to name it like that because you can have many WebDrivers in the same destination. So now let's unzip this WebDriver inside our folder. Okay, so the last thing that we want to do is to add this path c/Selenium WebDrivers to our path variable. In order to change our path variables, press the Windows key or search in the Windows search for variables. And as you can see, the top result would be edit the system environment variables. Click on that and go in environment variables. Now we want to click on path and edit that. And at the bottom of our environment variables, we're going to add a new variable with our destination of the file. as you can see, let's click on OK. As you can see, when we double click on our Gecko driver exe, this opens up. So to make sure that your path variable is correctly added to your environment, let's open a command prompt and type start Gecko driver. And as you can see, we have started our Gecko driver from our command prompt. We didn't need to go to the Selenium WebDrivers folder and type the start there. Basically, what the path variable says is that we add this destination to our command prompt and we can call our Gecko driver from any directory that we are currently in. So this is it for the setup of our environment. In the next lecture, I'm going to show you how we can start automating our first Selenium automation and write that with JavaScript. So see you in the next lecture. Okay, now that we have set up our environment, we can start working on our first Selenium automation. So now let's go ahead and find a folder where we would create our project. Let's create a folder there. I'm going to name mine Selenium example. Selenium example. And now inside we want to initiate npm. Basically we want to create a package.json file, and we're going to create that from the terminal. A cool little trick to open a terminal inside the directory you have opened is to type cmd here in the search bar. Type cmd and this will open the command prompt in the desired location. Another way to do that is to right-click shift and right-click, and you are going to be able to open with PowerShell window here. This will also open a command PowerShell basically in the desired location. However, I prefer to use command prompt. So now we're going to initiate our package.json file. In order to do that, we need to type npm init. And now npm would ask us some basic information for our project, like package name, description, who is the author of the package. So let's leave the Selenium example as the name. The version would be 1.00. The description would be Selenium example project. And the entry point is where you would want which JavaScript file your Node.js project is going to run first. So let's leave it with index.js. The test command will leave it blank, and the Git repository and keywords also. You can type your name if you want. The license can be MIT, and after that it will ask you to confirm that everything is okay, and press enter and everything is fine. So in the future, if you want to do this faster, just type npm init-yes, and this will apply the default settings for the package. So now we're ready to open our project in Visual Studio Code. Just type code space dot, and this will open our project inside of Visual Studio Code. So as you can see here, we have our package.json file. And now let's create our index.js file. Click on new file and give it the name index.js. And now we're ready to install our Selenium WebDriver node module. So let's open a new terminal. And in order to install packages from the npm, type npm install and the name of the package. So Selenium-WebDriver. And this will install our node module. As you can see in the package.json file, we now have dependencies and our Selenium WebDriver with the minimum version. So, and here we have the node modules. So now let's go to the index.js file. Now, you don't have to understand everything that I'm typing right now. I just want to show you how fast and easy it is to start with Selenium. So now let's type const, which will have builder by key and util, which is going to come from require Selenium WebDriver. We're basically pulling out functions from our node module that we have just installed. Now below that, let's create a asynchronous function called example, and inside of the function let's type the following. Let's first create our WebDriver. Type let driver be equal to await new builder. The builder is going to build our browser for browser Firefox, and let's build that. Now that we have our driver, let's open a page. Let's open Google, for example. Await driver to get http://google.com, and now let's do a search in Google. So type driver find element, which will find an element in the page by .name. The name of the input on the Google page is Q for question, basically. And we would want to send keys to this input. We're going to send Selenium, and after that we're going to press our enter key. Enter or return. Okay. And at the end, we'd want to call our example function. Okay, now that we have created our first Selenium automation, let's go ahead and run that. Go ahead and in the terminal type node index, and this will run our node index.js file. So as you can see, we're opening Firefox, opening Google, and we're searching for Selenium. And this was your first Selenium automation. Congratulations! In the next lectures, we're going to dive deeper in the Selenium world and how we can use it with Node.js. See you in the next lectures. Okay, now in this lecture, we're going to talk about what Selenium framework basically is. Most of you might know that Selenium is used for web application testing. This is a way to test whether or not when you press a certain button on your application it happens what you expect. However, Selenium is much more. When I found out about the Selenium framework, I was amazed that you can automate browser tasks like filling out a form and submitting it. And I discovered it when I was searching for a way to automate mundane tasks like posting to 100 websites the same information over and over again. I found it quite useful that I started learning about it. So this is more than an application testing framework. This tool can help you out in your everyday tasks. If you have repetitive tasks that you do in your browser, you can most likely automate them with Selenium and make your life easier. The great thing about this framework is also it supports all sorts of programming languages. Languages like Java, C#, PHP, Python, Perl, Ruby, and one of my favorites, JavaScript. And in this course, as I showed you with the previous lecture, we're going to focus on the JavaScript API that we have. and the way that we can use this in our JavaScript projects and how we can automate our tasks. The other thing that I want to mention in this short introductory lecture is how to use this course. Please always remember that there is a Q&A section for each video where you can ask questions related to the topic. If there's something you don't understand or you're stuck, remember that I am here to help you out. Just go ahead and search for your question. Perhaps it is already answered, or if not, just post it there and I will try to respond as soon as possible. Also note that you can speed up or slow down the videos to your desired pace, and you can pause, rewind, or even skip a lecture or two if you don't like it. So let's continue to the next lectures where we're going to dive right into Selenium. Okay, in the previous lecture we have talked about what Selenium framework basically is, and in the previous lectures I have quickly showed you how you can build your first Selenium automation. Now we're going to step a little bit slower, and I'm going to show you how you can configure your WebDriver to have certain settings, etc. So now let's create a new project. Let's name our project driver config. And inside, as you remember, we would want to code a command prompt with the cool little trick in the search bar here. And inside, we're going to initiate npm init with the fast function of yes. And everything is fine. Let's open this in Visual Studio Code. Okay, so now let's create our index.js file, and let's open a terminal here and install our Selenium WebDriver again. npm e. You can use the shorter version of install by typing npm I, just I, and type npm I selenium -webdriver --save. Now this will save our dependency in our package.json file. And now let's pull our builder from to be from our require of Selenium -webdriver. The builder basically builds WebDrivers for us. The easiest way to build a WebDriver is by typing the following. So let's type the following. Let's create a variable called driver, and this would be equal to a new builder for browser of Firefox. If you wanted to use Chrome and you have downloaded the Chrome driver, you just need to switch this to Chrome, and we're going to build this. So now we have created our driver. This is going to open our Firefox browser and tell it what to do. Now that we have created our WebDriver, let's test it out if it was built correctly. Let's tell the driver to get our favorite social media platform, Facebook. And whenever this requires a URL, a string of URL, and you need to provide a valid URL, and it should start with HTTP or HTTPS, depending on the website. So let's provide HTTP facebook.com. Okay, now let's run this and see what we get. Type node index in the terminal. And as you can see, we're opening Firefox and we're opening Facebook with it. And in the next lectures, we're going to see what other settings and features we can provide to our driver builder in order to build different kinds of profiles with our Firefox browser. So see you in the next lecture. Okay, now in the previous lecture, I have showed you how we can configure our WebDriver and how to tell it to open a certain web page. Now in this lecture, I'm going to show you how you can run your WebDriver with certain preferences attached to it. For example, your web browser has the settings where you can download your desired files, or whether or not it should ask you to download those files. In this lecture, I'm going to show you how you can configure your WebDriver to automatically download CSV files to your desired destination. So now, in order to do that, let's go here and we would need to call our Firefox browser in a constant basically. So let's type the const Firefox to be equal to require, and the Firefox browser is going to come from Selenium WebDriver / and here as you can see we have Chrome, Edge, Firefox, Internet Explorer, etc. We want Firefox. Now let's go ahead and see what the class Firefox has. As you can see, we have set profile, set binary, set proxy, and different things. We also have the options class here inside, which we're going to get. So now we're going to move that from in a new constant. So let's type const options to be equal to new Firefox options. Okay, now in our options we want to set our preferences, and after that we would want to pass the options to our builder. Okay, since there are a lot of preferences and a lot of preferences names that I cannot cover in this entire course, I'm going to leave a link with the list of all the preferences that Mozilla can have. So here, as you can see, the list is very, very long and I cannot possibly go through everything. However, I'm going to leave a link in the resource section of this video. So search for that in the resource section. Now, in order to pass some preferences to our options, we should type options dot set preference. After that, we pass the name of the preference. Now let's pass browser dot download dir, which is going to be responsible for the preferences of the destination of our download directory. And let's give it a name of C / my Selenium downloads. Now we have set our destination for the downloads folder. However, we should also set which folder we have chosen. To set that preference, we need to type the following: browser download folder list, and after that we pass an argument which can be 0, 1, or 2. So basically by default this is 1, which is the default download directory, and we want to change that to 2. So we tell our browser we want to use this directory. If we have the value of 0, the browser will ask us where we want to download our file. So now we want to set this to 2, and at the end we want to tell our browser, and to set a preference for that we want to automatically download CSV files. In order to do that, we need to pass the option for browser.helper apps never ask save to disk for the type of file application x-csv. So basically we're telling that our browser should always download application CSV files. So this is a MIME type. If you don't know what a MIME type is, I'm going to put a link in the resource section of this video so you can find more about MIME types. If you have difficulty to find the MIME type of a certain file, I'm going to show you now how you can do that. Now we're going to want to save this CSV file automatically. Let's open it first. And as you can see, we are trying to open it. However, let's press F12 and move this to the right side. And let's go to our network here. Let's open this scan and see what our get method returns. And as you can see, our content type is application XCSV. However, there are different types of content types, and for CSV they're also different. You can also have, for example, let's try this one and open F12 again, the developer tools, and stay in the network. So let's open this and see what our content type is. As you can see, our content type is application/ostet-stream. So you should always keep in mind that even if your file is a CSV file, the content type for the certain file might be different. So you would want to search for your MIME type and to find out which MIME type you're going to download. And now the last thing that we need to do is to pass the options to our builder. So in order to do that, we would need to set Firefox options and pass the options. Okay. And now let's provide our CSV file and let's test it out. Node index. Okay, now we are opening the page of the file, and as you can see, we have automatically downloaded the file. And here it is in my Selenium downloads. So keep in mind that there are different file types, and if you want to, for example, have multiple file types that you want to never ask if you want to save them to a disk, you can separate them by comma. Okay, so now that you know how to set up your browser to have certain preferences, in the next lecture I'm going to show you how you can apply entire profiles to your browser. So see you in the next lecture. Okay, in the previous lecture I have showed you how we can set some preferences to our browser and run with them. Now in this lecture I'm going to show you how we can set whole profiles with extensions, settings, etc. Whatever you want. Just set them up and after that run your WebDriver with them. Okay, what you want to do is find your run application from Windows, and there we would want to type Firefox exe -p, and there we're going to be able to create a custom Firefox profile. Make sure you have exited your Firefox browser before you do that. So let's create a profile and give it a name. I will give mine Selenium tutorial, and I'm going to click finish. And after that, double click on the profile that you want to run with. And as you can see, this is a freshly new profile for our Firefox. You have no extensions, no settings whatsoever. The default settings are applied. Okay, so now what we want to do is to search for Mozilla add-ons. Type add-ons Mozilla. And let's go ahead and install some add-ons for our profile. It doesn't really matter what you install. Let's just find some random extensions. Let's install an ad blocker, for example this one. Add to Firefox. Let's go ahead and install some password managers. For example, LastPassword. We're going to add this to Firefox. Okay. And let's add one more. Okay, we're going to add this. And let's go explore some more. Productivity, for example, tomato clock. And let's add this. Okay, now if you want, you can go ahead and edit your preferences and options for your browser from here, or you can go to about config and accept the risk, and here are all of the options that you can add to your browser. As you can see, the list is long, but if you want to change something, you can do it either from here or from the options interface here. After you have finished setting up your Mozilla browser, let's go ahead and open the Run application again. And what we want to type here is appdata /Mozilla /Firefox and /profiles. This will open for us the destination of our Firefox profiles. And what we want to get is our Selenium tutorial profile. So let's copy this. Okay, now what we need to do is right click here and open this in Explorer. Then open our driver config folder, which is the folder of our application here. And here we would want to paste our Firefox profile. So let's paste it here. And as you can see, we saw it here. Now let's rename this and get rid of this hash that Firefox creates in front of the profile name. And close this. Now what we need to do is let's clear our options here that we have set, and all you need to do is type options.setProfile, and this will give you would need to give the string of the destination of your profile, which is going to be /Selenium tutorial. As you can see, you have suggestions already. And you're already passing the options to your WebDriver builder. So now let's test it by changing this destination to google.com. And let's see what this will look like. And as you can see, we have our Firefox browser ready with our ad blocker, with our password manager and the tomato here. So you can create profiles with all the settings that you need beforehand and then provide them to your WebDriver. Okay, so this is it for this lecture. Now you know how you can set up profiles for your WebDriver. In the next lecture, we're going to talk about how to set a proxy for your WebDriver. So see you in the next lecture. Okay, in the previous lecture, I have showed you how we can set up a Firefox profile and add it to our WebDriver. So now in this lecture, I'm going to show you how we can set up Firefox with proxy if you need that. So now the first thing that we need to do is to go ahead and find the proxy that we can use. There are a lot of free proxies around the web. However, sometimes you should search a little bit longer. So let's go ahead and type HTTP free proxy, and there's a free proxy list that you can check and test out. Not every time the proxy would work, so keep that in mind. So now let's take for example this proxy, and now let's go back to our so now let's take this proxy and go in our application here. So now what we need to do is to call our proxy from Selenium WebDriver. So let's create a constant for that. Type const proxy to be equal to require of Selenium WebDriver / proxy. And this will bring us the proxy settings that we can set now. Okay, so now what we need to do is to set our proxy address in a variable. So type below the set profile, create a constant there for the proxy server to be equal to this at port 80, as I remember it was. No, it's 8080, so copy this and make sure you have the correct port without space, and close this. Now let's format this a little bit. Press Alt, Shift and F, and as you can see this looks much better. So now below the set Firefox options, press Enter and press dot and set a proxy. And here we would want to have our proxy manual. So we're going to configure our proxy manually. And here we would want to provide HTTP. So basically for HTTP servers, we're going to use our proxy server. And also remember that we have HTTPS that is also going to use our proxy server. So now let's go ahead and check first what our IP address is at the moment. Let's go ahead and type what is my IP, and there is a very cool website, whatismyipaddress.com. So currently this is my IP address. So now let's go ahead and go back to our project and run this again. Before that, let's close our Firefox here, and let's type node index. Okay, so it was a little rough to find the working proxy server. So now I have found one in Thailand that is working right now. So let's go ahead and paste that and type node index again and see what happens. When you're using a proxy, keep in mind that the connection would be slower. And here we have it. We have our proxy from Indonesia that is currently working. So here we're opening our what is my address, ipaddress.com directly, so we can check our IP address. So as you can see, we have changed our address from where we're browsing. You would want to do that for purposes where you would want to keep your privacy. The other way is to use a VPN. So those are the options that you need. Okay, so now you have seen how we can change our IP address and use a proxy. If you have questions on how to set up your proxy to the WebDriver or how to find the proxy, go ahead and search the Q&A section or leave a question there. I'll be happy to help you. So this is it for this lecture. See you in the next one. I hope you enjoyed this free preview of my Selenium WebDriver course with JavaScript. If you want to learn more and get the full course, click on the link in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this in the future. See you next time.